Welcome to part two. So I thought I'd just start this one off with going over the basics of the topology brush. Just on a sphere here as an example, just to kind of show you how it works. It's good for fairly straightforward, simple kind of topology, but if you're going to be doing anything more complex, I wouldn't recommend it. It can be a bit finicky. Bit awkward to use, but it's handy for very quick topology. Quite simple. So with the topology brush selected, which is B, T, and O, I just have it here in my custom menu. Topology Tools, the Z sphere topology stuff will show up here as well when that's active, which I'll show in the next part of this video after I do the topology brush stuff. So enough of the yapping, and with topology brush selected, you'll notice that as I drag out a curve here, that's segmented orange and black. So everywhere where there's a segment here, you can see the little green circle showing up. That means that's the resolution of the curve. So it's dependent on your brush size. So if I raise the brush size up, you can see now the segments are much bigger. So generally I'd work with a bigger brush size, because as I mentioned about it being a bit finicky, it's even more finicky if your brush size is too big, or sorry, too small, and you have too many segments. And you can also change this curve step stroke menu, the curve step, and also in brush modify, and where is there, modifiers, curve res is here. So you can just hold control just to read what that does. So you can change either there or in the brush menu, modifiers, curve res, or else stroke, curve, and curve step. So as well as drawing lines, you can alt swipe over them, and that will get rid of them, but you can't start over here because it'll just move or rotate your mesh around. Now you can't directly manipulate these, because with the usual curve tools, if you try to, you go to the end, you can slide it around on the surface, drag it around, but here it'll just continue on your curve. So way around that is you can just select one of the other curve brushes. So I've curved tube here, so I'll just select that, and I can move that around. Now the curvy bit, the tubey bit is coming up, but once you switch back to the topology brush and then just draw a curve, it'll disappear. So it is a bit weird. Now you can go back to curve tube again. You can drop the intensity down and do that again, but it's weird because it just leaves a weird flat sphere. I think it's supposed to not do anything like that if the intensity is right down. Even if it turned down RGB, yeah. So I don't really know, but that's what you can do. I've seen other people do it, and this weird stuff doesn't happen, so I don't know what's going on there. But if you need to move it, you can do that, and just don't worry about this, because as I say, when you switch back to the topology brush and drag out another one, it'll just disappear. So you can also I'll show that in a while actually. So I'm just going to alt swipe across these to get rid of them, and clear that mask. I'll leave that res brush size. So the way it works is it's just going to create either tris or quads. N-gons are illegal, so once it gets these intersections, it's going to need 4 obviously for a quad and 3 for a tri. So I can drag from this corner to this corner, and it's going to give me 2 triangles. So triangles show up in red, and quads show up in orange. I'm just going to turn off the polyframe and switch to a different material, more contrasted material. And you can also swipe out here away from everything. Alt swipe, and it'll clean up all those weird bits. So one thing, so that's the basics of the brush. That's most of the features of it. If you want to continue your line, just go close to the end point, or even one of these points, and it'll just continue the line out. If you get in close enough, you can see a little red dash will appear, like a little elastic. The same as if you're used to any of the other curve brushes. It's basically the same sort of stuff with a few caveats. So you can continue on there, and I'll say Alt to get rid of one, Alt swipe away from everything to clean everything up, and you can continue on. And what I like to do is see the way it's going to snap to these segments, like it was mentioned with the res. So if I drag in the middle here, it's going to snap whichever one I was passed by closest to. It's going to snap to. Oops. So sometimes it doesn't. See here, like we do have 4 connected up, but for whatever reason, it isn't creating topology there. So that's what I said about it being a bit finicky. But sometimes when I'm getting these problems, instead of trying to fix them if I'm using this, I'll just keep working, and when I do create me mesh topology out of it, I can just clean that up with Zmodeler, so it's no big deal. So yeah, as I say, that's the basics of the brush. Another thing you can do is you can, when you start to draw, you can hold shift, and that'll straighten your line. Now you can see it's straightened, but it's following the curve of the underlying mesh, or sorry, the surface underneath. So you can see that curve is from the sphere. So if this was, I'm just going to get rid of all these here. If this is in the middle here, where it's, well, not flat, but it's not, you can see the curve, it's following the curve. So if I hold shift and drag out, it's off away from the mesh, it's gonna envelop it, it's gonna wrap right around it, same as the other curve brushes. And if you don't go off the mesh and hold shift, it'll just do a straight line. So if this was on it, if I was doing this on a flat underlying mesh, these lines would be straight. So yeah, that's so basics of this brush, and I don't think I've missed that in note. So they're the main things to bear in mind. The resolution of the curves you're drawing out, the fact that you can't, obviously n-gons are illegal in Zbrush, so it just won't create them. So if I drag across here and then I draw out across here, it gives a triangle, maintain a quad there. But then if I draw here, that quad is gone, because now we've created a 5-sided n-gon. So it'll just, obviously it's illegal as I said, so it just won't it won't draw it. So yeah, I think that's the basics. And after this part, I'll just show an example on a kind of a real world model. Right, for this real world example, I'm going to use this crappy half finished concept sculpt that I was messing about with. So we might just choose an area, this area at the back maybe. So as I said earlier on in the intro there, I'd only really use this brush for quick and simple sort of topology. I'd never use it for something like this. Just going to solid that out, where there's circles and everything here, because it's just too, it's too finicky. I don't even know if that's a word in other people's vocabularies, but I think you get the meaning of it from the context. So yeah, I just use it for simple stuff. So with the brush size pretty big here, I'm just going to start drawing out my curves, and you can see here I'm going past. I'm going to just take this area here, maybe to here and around here. So I'm going, it's always a good idea to go past where you intend your intersection to be, just so you're not trying to go across these, because it can get awkward sometimes. So just go past it a bit, and you don't have to be too crazy precise with this. We can always clean up and move around the topology and everything when we've created it. It's still a very low base mesh, instead of trying to get all these perfect. you're only kind of wasting your time. So let me see, I will yeah, I'll just finish the outline here. So I'm going to start back here, and it's going to snap to those segments I was talking about earlier on, depending on your resolution. So see the way I started here, but it snapped up to here. Excuse me. And maybe I'll just oops. I don't know what's doing it. Oh yeah, sorry. It's I have symmetry on, so that's why it's snapping into the middle there. So if I turn off symmetry, I should be able to draw that where I like. And I will yeah, I might get rid of this one here and this one. Oops. And then I'm going to stop here with that line and come around. So I'm going to draw another one down here and close that off there. So we've created a quad now. And I'll start here. And I'm going to just draw across. I suppose I could. No, I'll just close that off there. And I could probably create another one here. It's gone all weird. Yeah, I'll just put another few in here. Now it's a good idea to keep this topology. Now I know the lines look like they're going crazy, but you don't even. It's the underlying topology here. See these lines that you're more concerned about. So I'm just going to draw now. Do you see there? I did the exact same thing there a second ago, and the topology disappeared as if there was an error. But then I just undid and did it again. So for about the 10th time I've mentioned now, this can be a bit strange to use sometimes. And I'll probably just, let me see, maybe just put another one here. And that has gotten rid of that. So I'll do it again, and it's okay, but it's created a triangle. There we go, and then I can use that to sort of, when I've created the mesh, I can adjust that to get that more circular shape. So let's say, for instance, that's it now. We have Alt swipe. Don't have to do this, but I can tidy it up a bit. So here's our topology. Now the way you create the topology is simply click on it, and those weird errors again. But that's no problem. We can fix this with ZModeler. So even though, look, it's shown that these are created when I create the mesh. Oh, there we go. See, perfect example of the weirdness of the topology brush. But don't let it put you off. It can be handy for very simple things and really, really, really fast. And I'm talking through this, but you can see how quickly you could get things done. So this is doing this is like a if you do panel loops at 0 elevation. It'll go it'll extrude half in out and half out the reverse side of the normal. So I generally, if you have these concept sculpts, you generally want to, you know, you're usually retopologing over the furthest point out of the underlying concept sketch model, so you can create it with no thickness, and then I use ZModeler to extrude in rather than this 50% in and out thing. So I'll just undo that, and what I'm going to do is, if you just drop your brush size down to 1, it's going to create excuse me, it's going to just create faces with no thickness. So now I can go to split mask points, and another weird error, but not to worry about it. And now it's split off into its own subtil and soloed out, and you can see here it's created automatically create creasing as well, but it's created creasing here. So I'll just go to uncrease all. Now I always have the crease stuff in use, so I have anything that's on my UI here, stuff that I use quite often. So so that is in geometry and crease, and there's all those functions there. So I've just pressed uncrease all to get rid of all that creasing, and now I'm going to go to ZModeler, and you can see now If I turn on, I've double turned on, but that can be found down in display properties. So one little not trick I suppose, but it's quite obvious, is ZModeler is obviously gonna it's gonna Q mesh out along the normal, so because it's not double sided, it's gonna go out, so we wanted to go in. So you can either just use flip or double, so I just use double because I have it on my UI all the time. And now if you just rotate around, we can go to Q mesh, polygroup island, and then we can get our thickness like that, a negative thickness, and then you can just use Q mesh, a single poly, and just close up that gap. Sorry, I was not supposed to do that. I'll do it from here and then close it up, and then I'll probably just control W and then polygroup, polyloop, and then give us a quickly give us a polyloop there. So I obviously didn't that wasn't the way I sorry, that wasn't even an error. Just have to realize that was part of the way I retopologized it, so we can just use QMesh to get rid of that. And now I'm just going to use go onto a point and move point infinite depth, and I'll just bring the draw size back up again because it's only at 1, and then we can just round that out a bit, and we could even add some more topology in here. So insert, and none of this topology really matters because we're going to be either Zremeshing or you could Dynamesh or whatever. So this is just to get you the forms that you want. So you can see now we have that thickness, and now with that done, you can just go back to can use the creasing tools here and just say 85, and I can put the crease level to 3 as I always do. Press D to go into dynamic subdivision mode and knock that up to 5, and just don't forget to hit crease. And now you can see we've got a nice creases apart from here, so I'll just hover over this edge, crease an edge and crease it, and that is already creased. And then you can just check around your model there. Dynamic subdivision is so handy for this stuff. So I'm just going to turn it off, turn it back on, and sorry, the crease level, I forgot to press enter on the keyboard, so I'll just set that to 3 and turn it off, turn it on, and we have our nice roundy bits there. Now you can see this strangeness here from those extra edge loops I added in. So what you could do in traditional sort of poly modeling stuff is just go to edge, slide, and then you can just space these things out here. It's not going to really matter because this is you're going to be remeshing this or dynameshing whatever for a sculptable topology, so you can just get rid of that with the sculpting brushes, but just spreading them out there old school, it helps a bit. You can see here our poles, these poles, so you could tidy up that topology, as I think I said in the first part. But there's no point in spend. The whole idea of this is that you don't have to spend all that time messing around with tweaking vertexes and all that till your eyes water. This is more about just getting the basic forms, basic shapes in place, and then we could just worry about all that stuff if there is any weirdness there. As I said in the first video, you can just use the sculpting tools, no problemo. So come back out of, I'm just pressing D to go now with dynamic subdiv, and then I'll just whack it up to what's it at, 47,000, and then you can do whatever you like here. Now you could or what I would do is I'm gonna go back down to no subdivisions, and I'd like to Zremesh this to give myself a sculptable topology. So this stuff is, as I said in the intro, it's so flexible. You can, so many tools available. You can use all of them. Kind of choose whatever you choose your weapon, so to speak. And it's all non-linear. There's no steps to follow. You can just do it as you like. Do it whatever way suits you. It's always a good habit as well to get in there and duplicate things, just in case we want to revert back to an earlier tool that you might have changed. It's a good habit to get into, to just habitually start to just duplicate things. You can always just shift and that arrow there to just bang them to the bottom of your subtool list, and then worry about them. If you leave them there, and if you don't need them later on, just delete them. So I'm just going to go to geometry. I have this in a menu I usually use here, but you can't use the Alt Zremesher alternate retopology option, because you have to press Alt when you click Zremesher to do that, and you can't do this from a custom menu. So you have to, if you do want to use that, you have to go down in here to use it. So what I'm going to do there now is you can see I have polygroups here, and I'll just show a quick example of if I wanted to Zremesh this and keep the polygroups, kind of keep the hard edges. What I would do there, actually I'll tell you what, I might just oops, we're missing some crease in there. So I'm just going to crease that edge. Sorry, I'll just go back down, delete higher, and I'll just crease that edge. I might jump up a couple of levels, we'll say to there, or maybe I'll drop this crease tolerance down to 2, and delete higher, and DDD. So we've 3,000 points there, and let's say that's our mesh that we want to use Zremesher on and keep the hard surface stuff. So what you can do is just enable the keep groups, and we'll say double, and put your smooth groups down to 0. But what we have to do here is we have to make sure, sorry, I'm just going to go back down to 1 and delete higher again. So wherever you want a hard edge, you have to make sure the polygroup changes. So what we could do here is we want to keep this curved, and then maybe a hard edge here, hard edge here, hard edge here, and there. So I'll actually just no, I'll leave the creasing on. So we can use group by normals, which is in, I think it's in polygroups, group by normals, and then just set your threshold. So I'll just use the default 45 first group, and you can see there, this is we want that. So we want this to be hard, so we'll change it. Yeah, we'll change that there. So I could mess around with this, but it's quicker to just, I'm already in Z modeler, so I can just go to polygroup. Oh, sorry, I meant to hover over and face polygroup a single poly, and then I can just polygroup these. It's hard to see, so I will click and then tap Alt, and like you can change our colors interactively. So I'll just click that and that, and that is it. So happy with that. Then I'm going to subdivide again, keeping our groups 3 times. Am I missing a crease there? No, it's just this pole here it's the pole that's giving me that effect. So I'll smooth twice more. You can see here it's the way it's behaving. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Throwing polygrouping back on, and go back to Zremesher. Keep groups is on, smooth groups is down to 0. It's important to play around with this slider. And then I'm going to Zremesh at, we'll try same first. Yeah, I'll try same first. And you can see now it's kept pretty much our shape. It's identical. But now we have Sculptable Topology, and you can also play around with, you know, I could have did that, undo that, turn off adapt, hit double, Zremesh, and get a slightly different topology. It'll actually give you a different topology every time, even if you just keep clicking it on the same settings. So the other thing I wanted to do was, what was I was going to do? Oh yeah, I'll try out the alt algorithm. So I'll just go back to the original we had, same, keep groups on, smooth groups down to 0. Zremesher, I forgot to hold alt and click it. And it might be hard to notice it, but it actually did give me a different result. So that is that. I will just subdivide a couple more times. We have a nice curved edges here, you know, and you could just come in here, you know, you could mess around with your modeling earlier on, and oh no, look, I have a pole here and it's creating all this artifacting in the smooth and blah blah blah, or else you could just skip all that and just give it a quick whip at a smooth brush, done. So yeah, that's one basic way to you can, as I said, you can use all these tools together. So the good thing about this is using Zremesher is that, you know, now we have nice smooth geometry. So if I you know, I can see there, damn standard, we're only at 200,000, and it's quite clean in comparison to what it would have been. So that is it for the topology brush. Next I'll show old school Z-sphere topology, which is still very, very useful for more complex kind of shapes. But the idea of this kind of retopology stuff, I suppose, is that you're not trying to go crazy and get really complex shapes. You just want the basic forms with as few faces as possible on your retopology. You only need it in where there's drastic kind of changes here, but then you can just add it in as you saw later on with ZModeler. So the thing is, you don't have to worry. You have to get out of the mindset of, if you're used to poly modeling and your 3D package, you have to get out of that mindset, because this is sort of this eradicates the need for all that messing around. Now you still, I suppose, eventually, if you're doing production models or whatever, you might have to do some manual retopology, but that's another story altogether. So yeah, that is that. Next part, we're going to move on to. Right, here's just a quick sphere. The undo buffer here, just to show a quick example of creating seemingly what would be complex geometry to create in your traditional 3D package. You can create it in, you know, a matter of minutes here with Sculptable Topology and Zbrush. So just starting from a plane, divide it up a couple of times, just drawing a mask on it, random kind of shape. And now it's difficult to see the polygroups, but I just pressed Control W to convert the mask into its own polygroup, or I could have just used hide point or hide part for this example under visibility. I think it is visibility, yeah, hide part, and then delete hidden, or else grab the polygroup with Control W and Control Shift click and delete hidden. Both of them are pretty much the same. So you can kind of make out that polygroup. So I've deleted hidden, and I've just used them. I've divided it up. Sorry, I've deleted the higher. So that's when the so I've deleted the higher subdivision levels. Now I've just used group loops to smooth it, and now I'm just using polish by features a couple of times to smooth it out. So group loops will smooth out that rough shape, and then polish by features smooth out even more. Now I'm just using the clipping brushes, and now I'm just remeshing it at half selected each time to get this low low poly geometry, which will be sculptable geometry as well when I subdivide it. So now I've just Zremeshed it, and now I'm just using ZModeler just to add in some details. Dynamic subdivision to check it out with the shape. Now I've just creased it using angle creasing, angle threshold creasing, and just jumping in and out of dynamic subdivision, and continuing to just add some more detail. So I'm using polygroup, polyloop there to isolate those. Polyloops is their own polygroups, so I can work on them easier. And now I'm just using Q mesh again, and that is pretty much it. So you know, it's pretty nice looking shape that you can just create these really quickly. That only took me a couple of minutes, and you can drop that into your, you know, whatever kit bash kit, or an IMM or whatever, and it also has the benefit of having perfectly sculptable topology. So if I drop back out dynamic subdivision and just divide it up a couple of times, say to 2 million or whatever, you can see then if I grab of an alpha here on the standard brush, you can see like we're still maintaining that detail because we have remeshed the topology underlying the whole thing. So that's an added benefit. You don't have to dynamesh, you already have that sculptable topology. So I just wanted to show that quick example. So now we're going to move on to the Z-sphere topology tools, which have been in ZBrush for a long time now, but certainly not outdated, and can be very useful for more complex retopology that the Topology Brush just isn't really suited for. So we're going to use another crappy concept mesh to show the examples. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to delete these other subtools because we don't really need them for the example here. And you want to insert or append a Z-sphere to start. So the difference between append and insert, in case you're wondering, append will drop whatever subtool in below your active subtool, and insert will just drop it right down to the bottom of the list, however long your list happens to be. In this case it doesn't really matter. So drop the Z-sphere in, select the Z-sphere, and I'll just turn on symmetry, and I'm just going to scale it. I'm just going to move it up and scale it down inside the mesh, turn on transparency. And first thing you might notice down the bottom of the list here, when you have a subtool in your list and as the active subtool, these menus here, rigging and topology, will become visible. They're not there unless you're working on the Z-sphere. So just rigging, select the mesh, and I don't bother with that. So just I use topology, edit topology, and then the adaptive skin. They're the 3 tabs. Preview is shortcut A, and then I have some of these in my custom menu. So I just use this. So there, I just skin thickness, density, and edit topology. So density will subdivide the topology you're creating. So I always set this to 1 to give me an exact representation of what I've created, so it doesn't subdivide it. So you're going to get exactly what you created when you hit A. So with all that done and said, I'm going to go to draw and enable or activate edit topology with density at 0, and I've also got skin thickness at 0. So hit edit topology, and now we can draw on our mesh. So this is the same as the Topology Brush, in the sense that you can only create quads and tris N-gons are illegal in Zbrush. So I've just clicked out there to set these points down, and this is an N-gon at the moment. So if I hit A, you won't see anything. So these are points, these are halfway points, so you're just going to be using these kind of as your guide to where you're going to click. So if I bisect this here, that'll give us two quads. And if I hit A now and turn on polyframe, you can see there is our preview. And I'll just hit A again, and you can see here that's the active point. So you always want to make sure you can click on the canvas to deactivate it, and then just wherever you click again, that'll become your active point. So I can just finish off this topology here and click off again to deactivate that, press A, and there's a topology. And really that's all that you would need for a piece like this. Then you would just excuse me, that's only a preview. So what you'd want to do then is go into adaptive skin, and just go to make adaptive skin. I also have that on my menu, and that'll just make this. But what it'll do, it won't append it. You have to append it yourself. So what it'll do is, if I go to make adaptive skin now, it looks like nothing has happened, but up here you can see skin Z sphere. So this is still the Z sphere. Press A, and that's still the Z sphere. But if I switch over to this, that's actually the mesh. So just something to be aware of in case you're wondering what's going on. So back to our Z sphere, and I'll just keep Z sphere. I'll just keep working up here just to show you, you know, the type of topology you can get quite quickly. And we're in draw. Oh, sorry, and another thing to mention is that with the topology brush you cannot move points around. You can only move the curves by switching over to a different curve brush, but you can move these points here by just going to move, and you can drag them around, and they will stick to the surface of the mesh. So that's another important thing to mention. So back to draw, and we'll start. I'm just going to lower this brush size, start drawing this topology up here. So when creating this kind of topology, as I said in the first video, you know, it doesn't have to be anything crazy like a production quality sort of topology. It's just to get the forms, the shapes, and the planes. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to keep it simple, and triangles are perfectly fine. So when you have an active point up here, wherever you click next will go from that point. So say for instance I click here, you'll see it's gone all strange. So it's important, and I haven't used this tool in a while, so I'm gonna keep probably forgetting myself, but you want to just click onto the canvas to deactivate that, and then wherever you click next is gonna that's gonna be the active point then. So I'm just gonna draw some more topology in there, and you can see here I'm going to click down again, and you know, the likes of that topology would be pretty weird usually in ZBrush, but it's fine for the purposes of what we need it for. So I'll continue on out here, and maybe up here, and I'll just make sure that's in the center there, the green circle. And then what I'm aiming for here is, I picked this because there's some planes on it that we can use. So I'll just draw in down here and just fill it in, and it's quite straightforward. You know, it's a really easy tool to use once you get used to it. I'll probably just maybe create some more across here, just to sorry, just make sure I have the correct point, just so I can get some more I could even just create two triangles there, you know, like you might do with a game model or something, just to get that curve, and then I could delete that there, but it doesn't really matter. As I say, it's fine for the purpose of what we're doing. The reason we want to get this the shapes. So I'm just looking to get that symmetry, but I realized I forgot to switch back to draw mode. And another thing is, you can see here I've left this edge out, and if I press A to go into preview mode, it's filled in this for us. So Zbrush kind of intelligently fills in where you might have missed edges. So I couldn't just leave all these out because it wouldn't know what to do, but the likes of this, so you don't have to fill everything in. So it's just something to bear in mind. It can be quite handy. So I'm just going to continue around here, kind of following the contours, and only putting in the topology as as sparsely as I can, just to get the contours that I need. So I'll probably just continue on up here, and I'm looking to get these planes. So you can see here as well, if you watch this now, I'm going to do a run of this here. This is the active point. So when I click down here, this one's the active point, so I can just keep clicking across, and you can get you can get runs in pretty quickly there. So I'll probably just put try in there just to give me this shape. And let me see, I'll take this back here, or actually I might as well, I'll join these up here, so taking that as our active point, and I'm going to follow these contours again. So I'll click off that and click back on and join these up here, and I can join across here, and you can see it can be quite handy, using triangles just to get the shapes. So we have a big huge angle on here, which is illegal, so I could just click from here to here, and then that's going to give us 1 2 3 4 and 1 2 3 4 5. So we could just create another triangle here to get rid of that angle, and press A to preview. You see we have this plane here, this and these other planes, and triangles, no problemo. So start, sorry, I'm just going to make sure to deactivate that, and just do what we did earlier on, clicking across, and I could even skip that one, and as I showed earlier, it'll fill in itself automatically. So I'm nearly there now. With another line here, so I'll probably just deactivate that point and go along here maybe. And as well, when you do this, you're you know that you're matching up the other rows of edges here that you have. So we can always go to move and straighten these up, which is a big advantage on the topology brush, but you can, I'm sure you've seen by now from seeing both in action, which is useful for which situation. So back to draw, and just make sure we pick up our symmetry, and I'm going to just click and click, and we'll see now if Zbrush has filled that in, and it has, even though he skipped those couple of edges. So it's filled all that in for us, and just for the sake of this, I'll probably just finish this off. Sorry, that didn't join up with that. So I'll choose this as our active point, and let me see, it's 5 there again, so I'll just come back in here. I don't know why it didn't. I'll just click off that because it's not creating an edge there for me. And topology is still okay, and click off and click on. And then you could just weave another plane here, so I might as well just finish this off. So click here, and it's great the way you can kind of just be really loose with the topology, and it doesn't really matter. Now there's something weird going on there, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to fix it. We can just fix that with Zmodeler. So yeah, let's say we're happy with that then. Once we have that, pressing A to have a look at it again. A again. And just go to make adaptive skin with density at 1, skin thickness at 0, make adaptive skin, and it's going to pop it up here into our tool kind of cache. So I'm going to switch over to that, and remember that's still a Z-sphere tool, so it's completely separate. So you have to manually, if you wanted that in the same subtool list, you'd have to manually append or insert it. So I'm just going to switch over to it, and all groups, Control Shift click, delete hidden, and here's that problem I was talking about earlier on, that I'll just smooth it out, see what's going on. Something quite strange, so it's no big deal. I'll probably just see if I can stitch these together. Zmodeler brush and stitch, and I'll try and just see how this goes. So yeah, that's it there, stitched. And on crease all, and mirror and weld. Sorry, mirror first and mirror and weld, just to tidy that up. And now I will just Zmodeler Measure polygroup all, or polygroup island, doesn't matter, and just bring that out. Or else you can use that little tip I showed earlier on where you can go back in. So with double on, you could have just went around the back and Q-meshed in this way, but not to worry. So there we go, and we have our planes. We have our planes here that we're looking for. So what you could do even is, excuse me, set up the crease tolerance again, just to get a base going first, and the crease level, and then just crease and D to go into dynamic subdivision. And you can see here those planes are obviously gone because we've subdivided, so we could easily just come in here and manually crease them. So just crease edge, and then we can just come in and start creasing these to give us that plane. I'll just bring this up to say 5, and just want to see what's going on there. There's some sort of strange topology there, and I think that was just from the I converted it over, but it's no big deal. I'm just going to stitch it up and have a look. Yeah, so we've got the beginnings of our creases going there. So we might even, just want to crease, continue to crease where we know our we want our hard surface edges, and just one here, and let me add plane here. We can check back with your other original mesh there to see exactly where those planes were, but I just want to check what's going on here. Yeah, we've got creasing here but none here, so I thought symmetry was on, but it ain't. I'll just turn it on there now, and mirror and weld D, and if it's really, you can see it was really basic topology, and crappy topology as well, triangles and everything, but it's still with the creasing, we're getting nice results. So I could also crease here, and I'll just try crease edge loop complete. Sometimes this goes nuts, but it's okay in this case. D, and so that's pretty much it then. From there then we just do the usual sort of stuff, or you could even just take advantage of Zmodeler. You know, you could just maybe inset a region, and just, you know, inset that once, and I'm just alt tagging these, inset it again, and then you could just Q mesh a poly loop and do whatever you want, and then crease again with that threshold, and you can add in detail that way, or whatever way you want. Yeah, whatever way you want. So that's pretty much it. You could also Zremesh this, like I showed in the last or sorry, the first part of this video. You know, you could even just once you've all that done and you're happy enough, just when you get up to your sculptable mesh, then just fix anything here, like these weird bits here. So I think that's enough. I've pretty much showed all there is to show, the basics of those tools and what you need to kind of get going. And remember, with Zremesh, Polygroups, Zmodeler, even Dynamesh, you know, use them all together, and it's in a non-linear way, and I love it. Yeah, it's a great way to work. It's very I don't know, it's very liberating or something. You don't have to do so much fiddling around and all that sort of stuff with verts. See, when I think of the amount of hours I've spent over the years dragging verts around, must have been crazy. Me and everybody else, I suppose, until Zbrush came along. So that's pretty much it for part 2. And the next part, I think I said, yeah, panel loops. I think I might look into panel loops and a couple of different ways then also of using slice curve brushes to get really quick geometry as well, with Zremesher and Zmodeler and all the rest of it. So thanks for watching this part, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright then, cheers, thanks, good luck.